Hey everybody, what's up? I'm here at the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas, and I just ran into Sheldon, who is a fan of my YouTube show. And I wanted to talk to him because I'm here with Open Primaries. So Open Primaries is a political non-for-profit. They advocate for independence to get ballot access, because a lot of states you have to pick a party to vote in the primary, which you're probably aware of, right?
Yep.
So one of the things that we see in the polling, when the polling apparatus is very skewed.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll ask someone, are you a Democrat, Republican, or independent? And then they say, and if you say independent, they go, do you lean right or do you lean left? And so first of all, what do you think of that sort of posturing that they do?
It's designed to put you in a box, right? Like, you're supposed to only see the opportunities that are spoon-fed to us on TV that come through million-dollar advertising programs, right? Like, the system that has become an industry of getting people elected is designed socially to shoehorn you into the thing. You know, do I have to describe that? If I had to, I could say that I grew up blue and I lean a little more red, but does that actually describe anything? No. Did the Democratic Party pivot around my ideals like it did for most people around COVID? Yeah, kinda. Like, it was intolerable to vote for them before COVID, but especially afterwards. They're pro-war. They don't support the shit that they were getting elected on 2 years ago, much less 4. Like, there's not really room for someone to have a more, like, centrist position unless you're willing to get skewed on either of these, two extremes, right? So, I mean, it's frustrating because it's always so linear, but it's linear in the way that they want you to see it, not in the way that there is, like, a much wider scope of ways that we could be using social services or the ways that Bitcoin could be integrated and stuff. Like, we don't get to have that conversation 99% of the time.
Right. No, we don't, not at all. Yeah, man, that's totally why they do this. And so let me ask you, in the state of Nevada, where are you registered to vote?
Texas, even though I'm Miami right now.
Okay, so Nevada is about to pass a bill, this just happened, that would allow independents to vote in the primary. Currently, they can't vote at all. It's a semi-open primary. They have to pick either a Republican or Democratic ballot, but it's sort of a step in the right direction. And there's a couple other states that are putting legislation like this on the books. Would you support some legislation like that if it was up in your state?
It would make me want to vote again, for sure. I've felt like I've been sidelined by the process, but making the process more open, not restricting me at the point of a primary, yeah, that definitely makes me want to vote more.
Okay, so now this is the main reason I'm here, because I got into Bitcoin in 2019, and you've probably been in a while. Why do you think, first of all, why are you like a Bitcoiner and an independent, and why do you think these two worlds really line up? Because I was telling Open Primaries, I'm like, dude, you need to go to the Bitcoin conference.
Hell yeah.
Because everyone here is done with the system in one form or another.
Yep.
So tell us like your journey, and then how long you've been in Bitcoin, and why you think, what your just sense of most Bitcoin. I know you can't say everybody's a this or a that, but what do you, just your sense of it?
I'll keep it relatively compressed because I started with Bitcoin in 2012 when I saw a hacker basically try to infect a series of Taco Bells with it. So I got to do all of this cybersecurity research about Bitcoin, and that was fun. But it radicalized me to see a world of people who were jumping borders just to be able to do transactions with each other, right? Whether that's the Great Firewall of China or Namibia or some other place, like, that was what radicalized me. And I was already kind of like not comfortable in a democratic box, right? So past a few years by, we have this debate of store of value versus means of exchange. This is where you find the debate about, should Bitcoin be more of a system that gets adopted by the state, or should it be a system that is designed for us inherently, and the state just kind of has to deal with that? Like, that secondary property of like, hey, fuck you, it's going to keep going. I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to curse.
You can swear, it's all right. Okay. We're independents. Fuck the two-party system.
So that property of like seeing more the state coming for your money or the state being like insensitive about sovereignty. Because I tell people, you have the sovereign power to fuck up. You can send your assets into the dirt and they'll actually be in there. No one can help you. There's no one to call for help, right? That kind of anti-statist, independent, systemic cypherpunk kind of support for a system, that's very 10 years ago. So there is a larger system today that wants to see the price go up, wants to see Bitcoin have utility, but also benefit the people who are holding the asset. So we're caught in this rock and a hard place of like trying to focus on privacy and cypherpunkism and people wanting to get rich from participating in the system. We got to shoot that gap, in my opinion, by trying to get more people to just talk about it in a way that's genuine and helps others understand that it's not scary Big Brother stuff to say, hey, there's a public and open system that people will control and that independent operators are really the owner of, but government still needs to find their way to sort of work with that. I think the larger Bitcoin audience would be labeled as anti-statist, or they'll use that phrase sometimes, say they're not statists, and that means that although they want Bitcoin adoption in law, they also want to see it as a strong arm, where the technology forces politicians to learn about it and then find that fit.
Well, that's such a great example because like I know some Bitcoiners who are like, I don't vote, I don't want to give it, which I get, but I'm like, okay.
You should.
Because here's
More
the
policies.
Well, yeah, because the best example is, look, I vote third party. I didn't vote for Trump, I didn't vote for Harris, I didn't vote for Biden, but Trump getting elected has helped Bitcoin because of the strategic reserve bill. So that is electoral politics getting a bill passed,
Yep.
which took us from 60K to 110.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
like, love Trump, hate Trump, whatever. Voting did this.
I would argue that it was just the ability to have that discussion, because having a talk that's not on Money Watch or whatever other like financials show, getting on Morning Joe and other like the typical TV moneyed up Raytheon shows, them having to discuss Bitcoin, being forced to discuss this other system that they're sort of trying to not draw attention to the openness and the properties that really align with things like open primaries, like that forces a conversation that we really needed to have. You're right on the price action standpoint, and Bitcoiners here need that. They're very happy about that, but on the like more social, like long-term growth of Bitcoin, we just got to talk about this shit. So many people don't even know. I've been going around and giving away NFC chips to cab drivers so they can literally just accept Bitcoin through tap pay, because if they could take tips through tap pay, then we wouldn't have to get into this like quasi-political discussion as much. It's just like, hey, look, man, it's your fuck you money, fuck the government, fuck Uber, fuck whoever else. You should be able to receive money from me without an intermediary. Like, that's the kind of thing that we forgot a few years ago, and I think if everybody tries to give a little drop in the bucket and just try to talk to people about it who are completely alienated because they're a little bit in their TV, then we'll get there. It might take half a generation, but I think we'll get to a productive point pretty quickly as long as we can discuss it productively, which has been impossible for years.
So how do you view, the big thing to a lot of Bitcoiners, and I was spent 2 months in El Salvador,
Nice.
of adoption, and that's a country where you saw it. I rented a surfboard, you can go out to eat, I rented my car from Bitcoiners, and it's more in the developing countries that don't have access to traditional banking, where it seems like day-to-day transactional adoption is happening on a larger scale.
If they do have that access, it'll be like just wild inflation. Like in Nigeria, even though the pricing has gone way high to use those services, people still use Bitcoin day to day so they don't lose money on their money.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So how do you see that getting back to, as an independent voter, this current administration is very pro-Bitcoin. Cynthia Lummis spoke here yesterday. J.D. Vance spoke this morning. Again, whatever your views on those folks are, they are pro-Bitcoin. Yep. No two ways about it.
Yep.
How do you see independent voters who are also, what would you say to
non-Bitcoin
independent voters that are not Bitcoiners? What would you say to them on why Bitcoin is for the independent voter?
I would tell them that if you want to not be as chained to the FEC and you want to have a little bit more flexibility with the shit that's going on right now,
FEC, Federal Elections Commission, which monitors everything.
Yep, and you need that fuck you money tool to be able to do that. I'm not saying that independents need dark money. It's not that. It's that if you're going to have a truly grassroots system that lets anybody pay anybody for any purpose, that is the ultimate in getting independence funded, getting independence out there. Like, media entities are going to receive Bitcoin more and more. They're gradually starting to accept them through third parties like Coinbase, where they like flip it back to dollars. But the more of these entities that have been pushing back and sort of keeping the TV in this kind of narrow view of things, like the more that there is this unstoppable force of, hey, I want to vote with my dollar, even if my dollar doesn't behave like a dollar anymore, like that goes really, really far. And it might take a period of time for it to like show visible results that people recognize, but it's already starting. So I think it's kind of already gonna just keep going, snowballing.
Great. And then just as a guy that's been in Bitcoin for a while, this isn't a hard data number, but what would you, if you were to pull a percentage on just the Bitcoiners that you know that were independents, that didn't align with either party, that are Americans, what number would you?
If we're ruling out the person who says that they objectively just won't vote in the system, they will not vote, if I can rule out that number, I would say it's 85, 90%. It's really high. Like, there are some that feel that the Republican Party has sort of taken Bitcoin under its wing, and for that reason they'll support him. But we all know how that works with politicians. It's short term, it's to get elected. After they get elected, the policies aren't always what we talk about on the campaign trail. In fact, they're usually not. So I think that it is a strong majority that is independent-oriented, or at least is independent and will lean red. But there's a very large number that I think are going to be more open to actual independence coming up, because single-issue politicians are stronger today than they were when I was a kid. And you don't have to be a Bitcoin single-issue politician to use Bitcoin as a tool as part of that single issue that you want to get done.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that if Harris would have been pro-Bitcoin, a bunch of Bitcoiners would have voted for her.
She tried it. She had a few people in that, like younger group of kids who are putting the money around and trying to get Stand With Crypto and this other organization support. But it was clearly feigning, and she didn't learn about it. So she would have had a much better shot if she had just made the attempt. But then again, that goes with a grassroots campaign, and maybe that's not really what Kamala was setting up anyway. So.
Awesome. All right, Sheldon, do me a favor, if you don't mind. Just say your name. I'm a Bitcoiner, and I'm an independent voter.
I'm Sheldon Deere, I'm a Bitcoiner, and I'm an independent voter.
Boom! All right, thanks, man. Sheldon, I really appreciate it, brother.
Really cool to meet you, and I couldn't have expected that for anything. But man, I'm so happy I could do something to help you out, because
dude,
I'm
thanks,
a fan,
brother. Thank you.
I appreciate you standing on game on principle.
That's what I'm about, man. I'm never gonna say something I don't believe. Whether you agree with it or not, I ain't gonna say something I don't believe.
You rock, Graham.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.